Page 6, Can't Help Falling in Love. This is a piece from a picture called Blue Hawaii. A number of singers have sung this. Elvis Presley did a really nice solo on it. There's a lot of recordings of this available. Starting in the right hand. The melody's in the right hand, it's the top note, and bring that out if you can. We're in the key of F major. We got one flat, B flat, but there's other accidentals too, so we'll deal with those when we get there. It's the 4/4 time. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1. Now, fingering wise, I like to try and feel the melody if I can, and that's hard to do sometimes on these vocal solos because they're for the voice, not piano. So the arrangement is usually, this isn't a bad arrangement, but it's got its challenges to it. There's two sets of words here. So we would play it more or less to accommodate the words, even though we might not be singing. You can be singing if you want. I ain't gonna sing. So the first set of words in the second measure, there's no phrase break there. It's all together. So I'm not going to separate the phrases. I'm going to connect it all according to the words. So it's here. 1, 2, 3. 1 to connect this. Just like, you know, because then I can lift up between the phrases. But if you look at the second set of words on the first line, there is a phrase break there. Because the first one, shall I stay? Now you can lift up for the second time. So when we repeat this, and there is a repeat sign on the third line, the first time we play it, there's no phrase break. The second time there is. And that's, we have to watch out for these things. And the fingering there at the end of the first line is a 1-5, and then a 1-4, and then a 1-3. I want to connect the melody. Then second line, second measure. Here, this is one of those places where it's hard to connect the melody. We're going to rely on the pedal. I'll talk about the pedal in a minute. Let's see what we can do with the fingers first. Well, you can do if you want. You can finger it the way they've got it, I don't care, but the last measure, I would change that from 1-5 to and then a 1-4 on the last notes, and then a 3 on measure 8 in the next line here, so I can connect those notes. So you're going to have a little break there, and we're going to rely on the pedal to connect it. There is a fingering where I can connect them, but I'm not going to bother with it. You can experiment and see if you can connect it, but I'm not going to bother with it. Okay. Third line, second measure, 1 and 2, and 1 and 2. Now I would prefer to have the fourth finger on the C, but we're using the fourth finger for the half note, so I guess third finger is fine for now. Then the last line, second measure. You have a tied note, 1 and 2 and tie. Then a retardando at the end, and you get softer, and then you start the song again. And I'm recommending, you're ending on second finger at the bottom of page 6. I recommend go ahead and use second finger at the top of page 7. Just lift up and move. It's between phrases, you can move, so here. That way your thumb is available for the next note. And again, they've got a comma after a hand, so you can go ahead and break the phrase there if you want to. Third measure, 1-5, 1-4, 1-3. And this is the same, the second line is the same as the second line on the first page. The third line is similar to the second line, sort of, a little different rhythm, but about the same. And then the last line, you're here. You're coming off of a little finger on the B flat on the end of the third line on page 7. So you're 1-4 for measure 24 there, the last line. And I recommend you do a finger substitution and put the 5th finger on it. So play it with 4 and then put 5th finger on it. So you can do 1 4 on the next one. And then if you want, you can do a 1 3 or 2 3. But hold that D flat down, it's a whole note. And then the last one. And that works out. The left hand has the supporting broken chord thingies, but there's 2 voices going on. So you got one voice, the bottom voice is the half notes. Here. We want to connect those with the fingers if we can, as best we can. Can't always, but do the best you can. The other voice is the broken chords. So work on the chords, follow their fingering, it's fine on the broken chord part. 3rd line after the repeat sign, the 2nd measure, you hear. Again, we still got 2 voices going on. Half notes, and then here, you got to move out. 5th finger, find another fingering that works better for you, go for it. The last 2 notes on page 6. Left hand, you're here, a C, F, B flat, and then a C, E, B flat. The B flat's tied, you're going to hold it down, now I'm going to play it again. The C on the bottom is tied, you're not going to play it again, hold it down. The only note that changes is the middle note, so it's here. Good luck with that one, but try and do that if you can. And then it goes back into the piece with a different pattern for the left hand. We still got 2 voices going on in the left hand. Here, here. Still got these half notes going, so we want to keep in mind we want those connected. We can't connect them with the fingers, but the pedal will help out. The other voice has the other one, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. You're playing on the ands, isn't this fun? So it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Last measure of the first line. Hold the C down. It's a whole note. That's the bottom voice, and the upper note or the upper voice is. So you got both voices going. The last 2 beats of the measure, you can hear both voices. And then you're going on. Hopefully you're getting the hang of the rhythm. The first measure, 3rd line, same thing. 2 voices, a whole note, hold it down the whole measure while you do this other voice. And then more of the same. Then the last line. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Like so. That's the left hand. Now, as far as dynamics goes, it's a gentle piece. So it doesn't ever get really loud. You're just kind of in the medium loud, medium soft range, and you can flux. Once you get to know the piece, you'll feel when you should get a little louder and a little softer, and that's the idea. So I'm going to let you figure all that out. You're just starting out gentle. Just remember when you get to the end of a phrase, like the end of the 2nd line going into the 3rd line on page 6, come down there, put a decrescendo, get softer. And then you can start the next measure or repeat whichever a little louder. I mean, they're saying medium soft. I could almost go medium loud on that. But I'll leave that up to you. They got a medium loud at the bottom. And then you get softer and slow down. And I'm going to push the notes down and then the pedal. And then I'm going to change the pedal. It looks like they're doing it every 2 beats as the left hand is changing notes. So I'm going to push the notes down and then change the pedal. So the first measure. Going. And then the first measure of the second line, I'm lifting the pedal up right after I play the E in the left hand, because I want to hear a break in the sound in the right hand. I want to hear the phrase. So that first measure of the second line is here. And again, the first measure of the third line, I'm lifting the pedal up after I play the half note E, A. That's an A, because I don't want to this sound. No. Just lift the pedal up when you do the A. You're keeping the fingers down so you can hear those. You just loosen these 2 notes. You don't want those. And then lift the pedal up so we get a break in the sound. Whether you repeat or not doesn't matter. We want a break in the sound before whatever happens next. I'm going to go on. It's here. Now here, you have a choice. Pedal it like they're doing. And they're pedaling each of the last 2 beats. That's okay if you want. Or you can just not pedal the 3rd beat too. And leave that totally empty. I kind of like that effect. Again. And at the end of the line, it's the end of a phrase, so lift the pedal up before you go on. I don't consider it an end of a phrase between the last 2 measures of the 3rd line. To me, that should all go together. Now, and here in the first measure of the last line, I would not pedal the last 2 beats because I don't want to blur this. No. And whether you break that phrase or not and the last line is up to you, to me it should all be connected. But and then you're pedaling each of those 2 quarter notes at the end of the page. Remember to keep the notes down in the left hand. And then lift up before you go on, so we get a little silence. Now the last measure of the first line on page 7 is the same as what we've done before. Lift the pedal up when you play the E in the left hand, so we get some silence and a phrase break in the right hand. And the third line down on page 7, first measure, is we've had this before. Do it the same way you did the first measure on page 8, 3rd line. Exactly the way they're saying to on the last line. Slow down softly, and by softly on that last measure of the piece, the melody is the top note. None of those notes should be as loud as that. They've all got to be under it, even in the left hand. It's here. Keep them way down. They should be something off in the distance or that you're barely hearing, because you want to hear this A. That's what's important. So don't let... No, this over. overpowers the A. No, don't. keep it down. I don't think we need to play with me. I've almost already performed it for you, sort of, but I'll give you an idea. I mean, you got to get to know the piece well, so you're comfortable with all the fingerings and all the notes and all that. And it is an arrangement, so once you've learned it the way it's written, you're welcome to rearrange it. You can improvise on these things, but learn it the way it's written first. That's kind of important because it develops your reading ability and your pickiness. So it might, you probably know what it sounds like, but it sort of sounds like this. I'm going to go kind of slow. It's you'll hear this played at different speeds. Some people will go slow. Other people will play a little faster, depends on the mood you're in. Now, one improvisation thingy you can do, if you care, once you get to know it, is all of these passages that are like the second line, third measure on page 6, the last 2 beats. You can smooth those 3 notes into a triplet if you want. It's tricky to do when you're playing 4 notes in the left hand, because now you've got 3 against 4 rhythm going on, and there's a way to do that, but it's tricky at first. So I'll leave that up to you. And then at the end, and then you go on. And if you want to hold that out a little longer, it's up to you. And I recommend that you lift everything up slowly so the sound helps to die away.